Hi, Susan. It's time for Thirsty Thursday. We have a lot of topics to discuss. Everybody, you'll want to listen to this because we go from soccer to beer to Chrissy Teigen to crop top. So stay with us to the end. Susan, what are we going to talk about first?
Let's start with some of that soccer talk. Cristiano Ronaldo made Coke, some serious troubles this past week, probably the biggest story of the week, in which, if you've missed it, it's essentially, there was a press conference and a couple of Coke bottles were out in front of Cristiano Ronaldo, and he, in an obviously irritated fashion, removed the Coke, set it aside, and put a bottle of water there that he was carrying and said the word Agua, like one word. So that's, influence right there. One word, Agua. Apparently the Google search for the word Agua in the 24-hour period following that was higher than anything else. And Coke's market value went down 4 billion. Now, with this, Will, and I want to know what you think, with this comes a lot of discussions around, similar to some of what we talked about with Naomi Osaka a couple of weeks ago. It's like he's not actively in a contract with Coke. He has in the past, obviously, done work for Coke and many other junk food brands. So, people are like, you're such a hypocrite or whatever. And secondly, Coke is one of the sponsors of the wider thing. So with that in mind, people are coming down on two sides of it. One side is like, he's an and he's sort of using his powers for evil, and then the other side of it is like, well, he's got 300 million followers, a majority of those are children under 18 years old, and that health message is not a bad thing.
I love this kind of like celebrity led anarchy, like sticking it to the man, quote unquote, the man. Ronaldo, he's the most powerful man in soccer, and soccer is huge. The influence he has worldwide is amazing. And maybe this is gone are the days of this type of sponsorship, right? Like having the bottle in front of someone while they're talking, having the big backsplash behind them. Maybe that these days are going in, and I'm glad. Like it seems so inauthentic to pretend that these athletes chug cold Coca-Colas to stay super fit after and before matches. Like,
right. And then the Coca-Cola company owns like several brands of water. Like maybe that would have been a better message to begin with. Moving forward in that, soccer theme.
Sticking with the Euro Championship.
Yeah, so the Danish captain, Simon Kjaer, and this week he's been all over the news because there was a game in which was it Christian Eriksen who collapsed mid-game. And this guy set in motion a series of events, which was like a study in leadership. So first of all, he rushed over and he gave Eriksen CPR and simultaneously yelled for the team to form a ring of privacy around them. So all of this could happen without that. And then, the actual respondents came in, obviously, in a minute or two. But in the meanwhile, he went straight to the wife of Eriksen. And there's this like fairly iconic picture of him consoling this crying wife, which like seriously made the headline. So that was really, awesome. You find, we talk about metaphors a lot, and this one's going to be a metaphor for leadership for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool, Susan. So I think we were going to segue to something to do with Chrissy Teigen, where many of you probably know this. About a month ago, Chrissy Teigen went off social media. Social media was her thing. Like she was doing it all. She's a model, she's a chef, but she's known for her social media, her tweets against Trump, all this sort of stuff. Married to John Legend, the singer. Well, tweets resurfaced from 10 years ago when she was a young little brat, and she said lots of mean things on Twitter. One of the things that really got her, that made her kind of go away over this past month was Courtney Stoughton. Anyways, Courtney was 16, married a 50-year-old kind of famous businessman. They were all over the celebrity gossip rags and everything. Chrissy Teigen was quite mean to Courtney publicly, but Courtney just recently was like, she used to DM me and say, I hope you kill yourself, take a dirt nap, things like this. So, and she had the receipts to prove it. So Chrissy canceled herself. She was canceled. I'm sure she lost a lot of stuff for this. She came back on Monday and published an article where she apologized and kind of explained how she was then versus how she is now, how she knows she hurt people. But the criticism she's getting, and shout out to my friend Marissa for mentioning this to me, was how she apologized, Susan. And that's what I want to talk to you about. The apology was long-winded and very much about her. It was, I'm working on myself. This is how I was, like over-explaining. She's still apologizing and acknowledging. It wasn't a focus on the people she hurt. It was a focus on how bad she felt and how sorry she was. And I think a lot of people are like that's just not good enough. Yeah, what do you think about that sort of apology?
The self-indulgent apology.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we say it over and over again. I'm sorry, and then full stop. Like not I'm sorry, but, and I'm sorry, this is why I did it, and not I'm sorry, all of the things. Wait for people to ask you questions. If the dialogue continues, then offer up what you need. The dialogue rarely continues. Nobody wants to hear more about it, right? So often people talk about like acknowledge, apologize, and overcorrect. Don't like explain yourself. All right, and speaking of poor apologies and gentle bad handling of things, Brewdog in the UK, the sort of like challenger beer from Scotland with the great growth and the quick unicorn status, has had some troubles this past week. It came out at the weekend actually, about how a group of employees who left have called themselves punks with purpose based on their iconic flagship beer, which is Punk IPA. And they're talking of toxic work culture and saying that amount of growth has happened at the expense of employees, and that, you know, there's a culture of fear and general awfulness. And Brewdog, instead of dealing with this in a myriad of, you know, options available from the crisis perspective, decided to get a bunch of employees to sign a document saying, oh, this is bullshit. We're all so happy here, the ones who were left behind. Except that didn't go so well because I guess a bunch of them blabbed. And now they're saying they were forced to sign that. So just the levels of toxicity on this story is making the news this week and causing people to ask questions of the cost of growth at that speed.
Yeah, and you know what too? Message to big companies that try to pull stuff like this and aren't working on internally on the company's culture and needing systematic change. We've been through a pandemic. I think a lot of people feel emboldened. Worse things can happen to me than get fired by you, Brewdog, and I'm going to speak up. You're seeing this everywhere in all walks. Again, with Ronaldo and Osaka, everyone is kind of, those who feel they can are standing up and speaking out.
Yeah.
And they have the platform. It's called social media. And we're thirsty. We literally are thirsty for these types of stories. We want to change the way things happen. So yeah, you know, go ahead, Brewdog, fire me. I'm still going to call you out. So I find that really interesting. Standing up to the powers that be. I love it. Okay, lastly, I don't know what you're planning on wearing at our photo shoot next week, Susan, but what I'm going to wear to the photo shoot is what apparently the New York Times is saying everyone's going to be wearing this summer: a skinny little tight crop top. So the New York Times wrote an article about how, you know, we were curious, what's going to be the fashion after the pandemic? Well, apparently it's like wearing as little clothes as possible. Everybody wants to get out there, have fun, show skin. And it's not like the crop tops of the past few years that were boxy and baggy. These are like tight bikini style crop tops. The New York Times said like the kids haven't been able to go to their big festivals and their big outdoor parties. I don't know. We should do a poll, Susan. Should we wear crop tops in our next photo shoot? What do you think?
I don't know. I can break out some biking shorts.
There we go. That's halfway there.
That's halfway there. So go out and vote for us, people. Should we take it off, or, you know?
No, put it back on. Yeah, put it back on, guys. Yeah, that's a good poll. Take it off, or please, God, put it back on.
So that's anyways, summer styles there. Skin is in.
Skin is in. Quickly before we go, our podcast, we talked to one of our clients and one of our good friends, Colleen O'Connell-Campbell, a wealth advisor, about how she works with a fractional, or how she uses fractional marketing to give her headspace back. Hint, hint, we're who she uses to get her headspace back. So
of course. That said, it's a really good behind the scenes episode, which talks you through how exactly you can flywheel using one key product and keep growing, especially for companies between like 1 and 5 million. That's the kind of thing that you might want to listen to.